Friends, I am here tonight for another episode of Around the Block. I am Rick Roberts. I am here in the Rogers Park neighborhood with my friend Scott Parker. We're here at just before his nightly night church that they're doing here. And Scott, let's start taking a walk. But why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell me what you do, where you're.
Well, I'm Scott Parker, and I came to this area of Chicago after I graduated from school in '93.
Wow.
So I was immediately part of an outreach congregation in this neighborhood from the Evanston Vineyard. And so about 2 blocks away, we used to have a service in a little tiny storefront that we called the Crib, which stood for Christ Residing in Believers. And so I jumped into that, and God kept me here for years and years. One thing that happened to me was I went to a children's event that some ladies that had moved into the neighborhood had organized. And during that event, God put in my heart, I just said this out loud, I said, God, whatever it takes, whatever you want, I'll do it for these kids. And so I watched a whole generation, kids that were 5, 6 years old when I said that. I now adults with their own kids in this neighborhood. Wow. So that's what brought me here.
Hey Scott, can you just briefly kind of give us an overview of Rogers Park? We're on just north of Howard Street. We're at Willie B. White Park tonight. Just give us a little bit of an idea of what Rogers Park is like in this area.
All right. So Rogers Park is historically one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the country. It's kind of, it's like the first step for refugees. So most refugees that come to America, this is one of the first stops. This was also one of the first stops for what I would call refugees from the projects. So this community had people coming from West Side projects, people coming from South Side projects, all showed up here in I think the late 80s, or early 80s maybe. And this right here used to be the park.
Oh wow.
And all that was storefronts. This street went all the way through where that soccer thing is right there. Used to be an adult bookstore, just 100 feet from the school. So a lot has changed here. But this neighborhood is called the Jungle. It was called the Jungle. I don't know if people still call it that. And was known everywhere I went. When I'd go to the West Side, tell people where I was from, they'd be like, oh, you're from the Jungle. And one of the reasons was 3 different gangs used to take shifts selling drugs in this little park.
Wow.
So there was a Belizean gang, the Latin Kings, and the Gangster Disciples. And right before I came, the GDs basically kicked the Latin Kings out. And so first 10 years I was here, that was the big rivalry, was the Latin Kings and the GDs.
Well, Scott, this summer, you have been doing a part of what's been called night church. And it's night church. It's not like 6 o'clock you're here at 10 o'clock, and not just once a week, but you guys are coming out every night.
Well, we're trying to come out every night. That's the goal.
Sure.
For as many people as we can get to step up and take an evening.
What started that?
Well, I had planned to do night church on Fridays and Saturdays this summer. Last summer we did an open mic all summer long, and this summer, obviously we couldn't do that because of COVID. Another thing we do is a response to murder, and so we anytime there's someone shot and killed, we go to the place where they were killed and pray over that space. And we were doing one right over here, the street over, a young man named JJ, who is very involved with a lot of our ministers, a lot of our people, was shot and killed over there about 5 months ago. And we came out, me and about 2 or 3 other pastors, and prayed. And on the way back to the car, we just bumped into all these guys that are out here, guys that are involved with Brother Jay's Bible study. And it just occurred to me, man, we had 2 or 3 very meaningful conversations just going back to the car. And I had known God wanted me to start night church this summer. That was something he had told me. And so I was like, well, why don't we just come out and call it night church? You know, the plan had been to do this big service or whatever every weekend. I was trying to get funding for it. And because there's shootings every day of the week up here, not all the time, but it's not indiscriminate, like when it happens. Yeah. I thought let's shoot to be out every night.
Have you seen any impact in that? What's been some fruit of being out here every night, if possible, this summer?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, I came out with pastor who'd never been here before. It was a pretty busy night. Like tonight, there's about 80 people over there on that street. Yeah. We came back here, just the 2 of us started doing worship. Within 15 minutes, that whole party had gone home, which is good because it was dangerous for them. There had just been shootings like 2 weeks before that. And then at the end of all our time worshiping, right at like 10 to midnight, this guy came, sat down. We had a chance to talk to him and share with him. And then on a Monday night, we were out here and we just had people come by. We asked them for prayer, and so we began to pray for them. They just began to weep and tell us their stories. Wow. And, you know, and that's just what we find out here is everybody knows God and they're hungry for God, and a lot of people are. We just need a reminder, and when they get around the presence of God, they respond to it. Yeah. So,
well, hey, we've taken a walk around the park already, and people are starting to show up, so that's awesome. Yeah, hey man, how you doing? Doing all right. You too. And people are starting to show up and come by, and I see you built relationships. Hey, one of the reasons we're doing this, and I'm doing these little episodes, is because we really want to encourage people that are in their own neighborhoods and may want to just see what things are going on in different parts of the city, different parts of the world, but may be saying, hey, I want to do something. So what's one bit of advice that you would give, or one thing you've learned from doing something like this, where you're present every night and you just started showing up and praying?
Yeah, so I think the main thing is, I mean, we learned this from pastors on the south side. So like you're doing right now, I used to, 4 years ago, I was going down to the south side with my camera and documenting it. But I think what God's been impressing on my heart, 2 things. In Isaiah 5, it says that the reason that the jaws of Sheol have opened up and death is consuming Israel is because they chase after strong drink in the morning. And so this whole party lifestyle, the revelry, the lifestyle is really what drives the drug dealing, drives the violence, all that kind of stuff. And so if we're going to be the church that's going to reach people in darkness, we gotta go when and where.
Yeah.
And then as I'm reading through the Gospels, what I'm realizing is what we see Jesus always doing is going into a synagogue and confronting what people think should happen there. We see Jesus table fellowship with people you're not supposed to have table fellowship with. So what Jesus is always doing throughout the Gospels is he is repurposing both people and spaces. And what has happened in our city is we've said this neighborhood is bad, and so bad things can happen there.
Yeah.
So this plot of ground is for drug dealing, is for shooting people, is for wickedness. And we say it. That's a bad neighborhood. Don't go there. Don't get stuck there. Don't, right?
Yeah.
And that's the opposite of what Jesus did. Jesus made unclean people clean, right? Jesus went into a synagogue and healed on the Sabbath. He changed what people thought about space and time and what it was used for. And so I believe that's what we're doing here. And so we're teaching people you can meet God at 10 to midnight. And this time and this space is not just for one type of activity.
That's good. Well, Scott, I appreciate it. I appreciate you allowing us to hang out for just a few minutes and walk around Willie B. White Park. Appreciate you, man. And thanks.